we're in a world now where the follower or subscriber is actually a vanity metric. It really doesn't matter at all. It used to a little bit in the first couple years of TikTok. It really did matter because you would gain some trust with the algorithm and then it would help you get there. And it still does today because your followers are more than likely going to be served, or a portion of your followers. It's never any more than maybe 10-20% per video, but a portion of those followers will help boost your account, because if your followers don't like the video, more than likely other people aren't going to like the video too. But really, it comes down to content.
Welcome back to the Dental Economist Show with me, Mike Huffaker. Before we jump into today's discussion, don't forget to like, follow, and leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. Thank you for the support, and thank you for listening. Today, we have an incredibly exciting guest, Dr. Ben Winters, also known as the Bentist, who is revolutionizing the way that we think about dentistry and oral health. As the world's largest dental and healthcare influencer, Dr. Winters has captivated over 20 million followers across social media platforms and garnered over 2 billion annual views. Through his dynamic and often hilarious content, he's made even the most technical aspects of dental care fun and approachable for a global audience. Ben, it is a pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Appreciate all the kind words. I'm just a normal guy from small town Oklahoma. So when people say a bunch of stuff like that, I'm always just like, I'm just Ben. It's just me still.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it must be surreal at times to kind of have embarked upon this journey and have people recognize you when you're out in public, and kind of have all of these things that are maybe the unexpected consequences at the time. I would be curious, maybe to start, you embarked on this journey, from what I can tell, about 6 years ago. Some of your first posts were in 2019. It's really not all that long ago for the growth that you've experienced. If your current self could have a conversation with your past self as you started to embark on this journey, what would be some of the advice you would give him that would have made it maybe less stressful, or more smooth sailing? Kind of what are some of the things you think about that you wish you had known at that time?
Probably tell him to buy Bitcoin. Nah, I'm just kidding. But fair enough. That would definitely make my life a lot less stressful. No, actually, weirdly enough, my life has been a series of fortunate events when it comes to social media. And so I don't even want to talk to him. I wouldn't even want to try and change anything because of just how everything just fell right into place so perfectly. I guess I could go back and maybe just give him all the knowledge that I have now. Obviously, that would be great. Like, this is exactly how you do this. Early on, I was noticing, and it depends on when you want to get into this or anything like that. But, early on, there was no really short form content, right? And I was used to the old school Instagram way of doing things, which was very much like pay to play. If you're not a famous person, you're never going to get big. You could have, 10 followers and you could make the Mona Lisa, but you're never going to get more than 10 likes because you only have 10 followers and there's no way to get on the explore page. There's no way to get anywhere. So I was used to that social media side. Obviously Vine was a little dip in the world of this testing of this short form content and the virality that it could bring. But then obviously Vine went away. And so when TikTok came out and I really looked at it for the first time, I didn't even know what I was looking at, but I started to piece and puzzle together these things that I was seeing, these structures that I was seeing, just kind of how people were flowing and how people were going viral and all that type of stuff. And so I caught on really early, like literally the very first day I saw this kind of pattern emerging, which is what we know today is a trending piece of content, And so, and in my head, I was like, man, I think I should be doing this because other people are doing this. And I don't know, maybe I can just change it to this dental side to have fun with it. And it worked. Actually, our first video got 10 million views, 10 million views, 1 million likes. And I got 100,000 followers overnight on the very first video I ever did in 2019. That was like 2 months after TikTok had became an app. So if I had to go back and talk to him now, I would obviously tell him everything like, you were on the right track, but here's the exacts of what you need to be doing. Here's all the different structures, all the different types of viral videos, how you find them, how you do them. And that may make it a little bit easier for me. But, I mean, I think I just did everything so right, and I got really lucky. Orthodontics is a fairly easy job. You're busy, but then you have these little 15-minute breaks of nothing in between your 45 minutes of busy. And so I just, would be on my phone just kind of studying TikTok by using it as I was going through, getting ready for whatever was lunchtime that day. And then I would make my video during lunchtime, and then I would rinse and repeat or whatever. So, yeah, no, I mean, I really am pretty blessed at how lucky everything kind of just fell through. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I remember when I very first started too, it just so happened that TikTok at that exact time was trying to age up their app because they were going through a lawsuit they had, really early on when they bought it from Musically, where these like 13-year-olds were allowed to do lives and that was illegal, but they had bought them. So they had to take on the lawsuit from someone else. So they were like, we need to age up the app and stop having this be a little kids app. And then I just so happened to be going viral at the same time. And so TikTok reached out and was like, hey, we'd love you to be an ambassador for us. And so I got to travel, all over across America with TikTok when it was like a very, very tiny company, like no bigger than an orthodontics office for the whole corporate office. And now it's this massive thing. And it's just everything, like I said, everything just was crazy how perfect it all worked out.
Yeah, it must be pretty unreal to think about that. I mean, so much of life is also timing, right? Like, and ensuring that, we're taking advantage of the opportunities that are put in front of us. When you look back at that, you mentioned that you kind of came from this age where it was the Instagram model and some of the other things. And the TikTok really was new. And like my first even awareness of TikTok, I don't think was until COVID. And you were already viral with millions of views at that point in time. As you think of kind of the evolution of social, and maybe we'll just kind of jump into this right away. There's the subscriber kind of model, which I think there's still a lot of importance to, but it seems like there is more and more of kind of the trending suggested piece, and ensuring that that content that is created can be seen by those that aren't necessarily your standard existing audience. Is that something that you think about? And is that something that people today, as they're creating content for social media, need to take into consideration?
100%. And I would say that we're in a world now where the follower or subscriber is actually a vanity metric. It really doesn't matter at all. It used to a little bit, in the first couple years of TikTok. It really did matter because you would gain some trust with the algorithm, and then it would help you get there. And it still does today, because your followers are more than likely going to be served or a portion of your followers. It's never any more than maybe 10-20% per video, but a portion of those followers will help boost your account, because if your followers don't like the video, more than likely other people aren't going to like the video too, things like that. So it has a little bit, but really it comes down to content. And that was the change in the algorithm between Instagram and TikTok. Was Instagram was more worried about just serving the people who followed you your content because they followed you. And it doesn't matter if you posted a cooking video or taking out the trash or petting your dog or whatever. They were going to show you everything because you followed this person. You are subscribed to this person. Just like you subscribe to a newspaper, you want the newspaper to show up every day, regardless of what's in the news, right? And so Instagram or TikTok completely flipped that on its head and completely changed the algorithm completely. And it said, we don't care who you are. We don't care if you're Brad Pitt. We don't care if you're a garbage worker. If you make good content, we will serve it. If it gets watched by people, we will serve it, which is why watch time is so important, And so, and then from there, they said, well, we're going to start using these AI algorithms to start to basically make a mold of who you are as a person. An avatar is what they call it. And so if you are a sports person, I'm going to show you the best sports content from across everybody's accounts, whether you follow them or not, because all we care about is that you're entertained and that you stay on the app. And so now some random Joe Schmo who's really knowledgeable about sports that's sitting on his couch talking about something interesting goes viral and becomes this massive person in people's households out of nowhere. And I think because of that, we saw a huge flip in the Hollywood model, where these people that are kind of placed and groomed to be, celebrities, which may not even have a good personality, you don't know they're acting, are now being replaced with just genuine, down to earth people that love to entertain or do their stuff, or whatever it is. So it's no longer the corporate and Hollywood side that's making the content. It's actually just the people making the content, which is really interesting. So, and I saw that really early on. And so I was just like, I don't care about the followers. All I care about is making good content. I still do that today, because even though I have over 15 million followers on TikTok alone, if I make a bad piece of content, our average is around 500,000 to a million views a video. But if I make a bad piece of content, because I just don't care that whatever, and I just know that it's maybe not the best or whatever, I may get 10 to 50,000 views. So you don't get special treatment just because you have 15 million followers. In fact, you'll see tons of people with tens of millions of followers that got it in maybe nefarious ways. Like back in the day, they used to do this like follow for follow trend, where they'd be like, if I make this shot in this basket, you got to follow me, and so then they'd get millions of followers from these scam tactics. But then they didn't know how to make good content. So now they've got millions of followers, but they get like 100 views a video, and so that's an important thing to know about.
Yeah, super interesting, actually. So even with a large following, what you're saying is the algorithm solves for the caliber of the content and the quality of the content as well. And I would imagine, though, that results in a higher level of feeling of pressure, right? Even for somebody like yourself, who's created so much content over time with so many successful viral videos, when you know that something could potentially result in what would be an unsuccessful result for you, a successful result for many, 10 to 50,000 views, but you recognize that there's a path to declining viewership over time, depending on what you're putting out. Does that feel like a lot of pressure in the position that you're in today?
Yeah, it used to, because the way the algorithm works is it goes in ebbs and flows, and so obviously we can talk about busy later, and how we can go really in depth in it. But the basic overview is your views will go up, and then they will go down, and then they'll go up, and then they'll go down, and that's on purpose. If you're making the same type of content, and that's just to keep the For You page fresh, so you're not seeing the same people all the time. And so there's a difference between seeing your views fluctuate naturally and these really bad stretches of stuff. And so, it is pressure for sure. I don't take it too seriously when I see lower view videos anymore, because I know the structures. I know what makes a viral video. I know what makes it good. It's been tried and true and tested. The structure that I do currently, which is more of a reaction based structure. And so I know it all works and it's going to continue working, but that doesn't mean that I don't test other things. And so this is like in the industry, what we do. And, Mr. Beast is probably one of the biggest, YouTubers / people in the world. And he talks about this a lot is, for every 2 to 3 videos he'll test out a new type of style of content or whatever it is, because we do see a thing where like these people will make a style of content and then it will get stale after a while, because I've seen the same thing over and over and over and over again. Or maybe the trends move, or maybe people just go away from that style of content or that way of filming or that whatever. And then people just watch you less and less and less and you just keep doing the same exact thing, hoping that it will change. And then your views just keep going down and down and down and down. So you need to adjust to a lowering period of views by saying, is this just a temporary thing, or is this an ongoing trend that I'm seeing? If so, I probably need to pivot and change my content. And and when I first started, I thought like everybody else, and it was kind of the same thing. Like on social media, you were big for a couple of years, and then you went away, and then your job was done, your time was there, and you've passed and move on. And now we're really seeing the first longevity influencers, I would almost say. I thought I was going to be done in 2 to 3 years, and now it's 6 years later and I'm more popular than ever. And so, and the reason was, and I still attribute this to my ability to see those structures and change to what the algorithm was telling me to change to. Like when we started, it was skits. I was making like funny videos and skits. And then it became, during COVID, all the dancing content and all these dance trends were super popular. luckily for me, I knew how to dance, so I started doing those. And yeah, so that was really easy. And then I started to notice all of a sudden these people doing like, cooking videos and stuff were doing really well because they were showing a process of something. And so I was like, well, what can I do like that in the dental side? So I started making crazy retainers because it was almost like a cooking show, but it was like making crazy retainers. And then eventually I started to see these people reacting to videos. And so that's when I pivoted to the education side. And I've been really doing that for the past probably 3 years now. I've been just I hit that lane, and it was like easy to do, really thoughtful. I can make them longer than a trend of like 10, 15 seconds, and my watch time could go up, and people loved them. And I've just been doing those ever since. But it doesn't mean that I don't still test out other pieces of content. If I see trending doing really popular, I'll kind of test that out a little bit. If I see people doing vlog style content, I'll test that out a little bit. But I just keep doing the things that I have to do. So if one day people don't care about reactions anymore and those views start going down, I can pivot to the next thing. And it's really just the knowledge of being able to know what the structures are, visually, pick out algorithms and viral structures and videos, and then pivoting to that style. As long as you can know how to read the algorithm almost, and read, and each thing is different. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, they all have their different languages, I say, that they speak in. And so if you can read the language, you can be successful as long as you just have the wherewithal to go make the content to match it.
So all of that is fascinating, and there is so much in there, really. When you think back on even just the last couple minutes of all the different phases of all the different tweaks and adjustments that can be made, of how you really study what is happening in the marketplace, have to get a really in-depth understanding of what the algorithm is looking for at any given time. Also, some ways to keep your mental sanity with understanding that, yes, there is going to be fluctuation. Maybe the algorithm doesn't want to present the same person every single time on the For You page. So you might see some, over time, ebbs and flows that doesn't necessarily reflect on a decreased quality and content. So let's talk a little bit about, the fact that you founded Busy, because, there is so much here. I think for many people, it is overwhelming to even think, like, how do I get started? So maybe you could share a little bit about what Busy is, why you founded it, and tell us about that.
Yeah, so I am an engineer at heart. I got into MIT. I actually turned it down. My dad went to MIT. I got accepted as well in MIT and turned it down to go to the University of Oklahoma because I wanted to be with my friends instead. But the reason why I said is not to pat myself on the back, but to kind of show you that I have that engineering, sciencey brain. I break things down really well, and I can teach very complex things to a very, simple level that where people understand it, which is probably why my reaction and educational videos do so well too, because I'm educating on these crazy, dental topics and making it so simple for these kids to learn. And so obviously when you do really good, you have friends, family, other people, other dentists, friends from college that are like, hey man, can you help me with this and that? And I'm somebody who loves to help people. I always have been. I've always been an educator. And so I would spend a lot of time with them, and I would, teach them everything. And even though it's so simple, it's kind of like, getting a six pack is simple too, but you just need somebody to lay out the information. And then the hardest part realistically is just them doing it over time. Right. But first you have to know the right things to eat, the right workouts to do, all that type of stuff. And then you're hitting the ground running. And so after I got through like the third or fourth person, spending hours on the phone and texting them back and forth for weeks and watching them progress and grow, and a lot of those, some of my best friends, like my roommate in college, he's a dietitian. We just started helping him like 6 months to a year ago now. And I think he's almost got 1 million followers on Instagram and TikTok separately. So he's crushing it. And now his business has grown so much, and, all this type of stuff. And so it really is anybody can do it. I've done it in gaming. I've done it in couples channel. We grew my wife's channel to 800,000 followers in a month. That was back when it was a little bit easier. It's a little bit harder to do now, but still, yeah. So anyways, after doing all this, I was like, dude, I do not want to spend my time talking on the phone with every single person that I want to help. And so I was like, why don't I just create a course? Why don't I just build it? Why don't I just get everything out there on video and in this course? And that way, if any of my friends want it or another dentist wants it or whatever, I can just give it to them. And so that's whenever I gave it to one guy and he was like, dude, you should charge for this. This is insane. Like, you brought me so much value. Like, the other guy, my best friend probably texts me, once a month, just retelling me thank you because I've changed his life just by letting him, know how to do social media properly. And he was like, I don't know why I never thought about doing this earlier, and so, because like you said, it is so daunting, but when you break it down and you watch the course and you actually learn it, you're like, this makes so much sense, and you just see the world in 100 different ways. And so we actually made it, into that course, because of that reason. But then we actually started working with dentists specifically on that, because obviously I know so much more about the dental side. But that being said, busy works for everything. It works for it, like I said, if you're a garbage worker, you're a small business owner, you're a teacher, you're doing whatever, it does not matter. The structures are the same, the algorithm is the same, the knowledge is the same. You can put it towards anything you want. Actually, we had a lot of people that would take it and then not only do it in their dental office, but then give it to their wife for their business, and things like that, stuff like that. And so actually, originally we brought on, it was like actually, I think it was 10 people. And it was like a one-on-one, like really in-depth mentorship, to test it out, to see how it works. And it actually worked really good. Now, there were people that failed because they just didn't watch the videos. They didn't do the stuff that, I was actually a personal fitness trainer, exercise physiologist in college. And so I used to do this all the time. It's funny how many parallels I had where people, I'd give them the perfect diet plan, the perfect workout, the perfect everything. And they would just never do anything. And they'd be like, why don't I have a six pack? Well, you did nothing that I told you to do. So if you're willing to work, if you're willing to actually learn, and in fact, a lot of the dental people or orthodontists or even just entrepreneurs in general that we're opening it up to now, it's not a one-on-one mentorship like it was with me. Like, I'm not going to be in your thing talking to you every single day, all that type of stuff, because I realized that was taking up a lot of my time. And if you let people do that, they will literally take every second of your time to ask questions. But it is perfectly viable. It's an amazing course that will teach you everything you need. And actually, what we tell people is, like, especially for dentists and orthodontists, because a lot of them are like, I don't have time to do this, I'm busy, I'm whatever. We made it specifically so you don't have to be in it if you don't want to be. And so really, what I think the best case of action would be to have the marketing girl on your office, or somebody that you designate to do the social media for your office, actually take the course and learn it and be a viable person for your office, to where you don't even have to be a part of it if you don't want to. Or if you do want to be a small part of it, they just film you for a little bit and then they move on and they go about their business, and then you don't even realize you're part of it. You just see the numbers go up, and not only that too, but it's, once you learn this for the organic side, if you are a group that runs ads at all, utilize these same tools and same ideas for your ads and your inorganic side of your office, and you will see your ROAS go up, your click-through rate go up, your cost per click go down, because you're making good content. And we go through all of that in the course as well. But yeah, it's basically all of my knowledge. This is not only knowledge that I found myself. I'm one of the top 100 YouTubers in the world, so we get to go to the different summits every year. I've been with TikTok since the very beginning, so I've had so many meetings with the people, literally the people who wrote the algorithms of Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like, I literally sit down and have beers with the people and ask them questions about how the algorithm works, why it does this. Now, they won't tell me everything, obviously, but you'll get the I can't say, but it's enough to know how the algorithm works, how it pushes things, how you should be seeing content, how you should be reading the data, and how you can really quickly and easily find your lane to go viral. Because realistically, it's not that difficult. It's just showing up and doing the right thing daily, consistently, and watching that six pack show up. And the really cool part too, because another big gripe I get is people are like, well, I'm never going to have 20 million followers. And I'm going to be honest with you, probably not. You're probably not going to have 20 million followers, because I am the expert at my craft. I do this every day. I've never really missed a day of posting for almost 5 or 6 years. Like, I'm on another level when it comes to that. But the beauty of it is, when social proofing your office and your area, you just have to be the best person in your area. And so if you look at the other dental offices and they have 500 followers and they're not getting any likes or no cool videos or nothing like that, you only need 10,000 followers, which you could get in a week if you did things properly, or a month if you did things properly. And so all of a sudden, you're the best office in your town, You have the social proof of your town. You get all the reviews. People see your videos. Not only that, once you start making good content, I've noticed that your office really shines through via the website, via the ads, via the social media, because instead of a crappy static picture of like, hey, here's the drawing winner from last week, or here's Cindy's birthday today, and then there's like this crap Microsoft Word photo of a tooth with holding a brush, and he's like, brush your teeth today. It's like nobody cares about that. They literally just saw somebody diving off the Eiffel Tower into a skydive into a pool. They're going to flip to the next thing and see your crappy post. They do not care. So if you don't know how to talk the language, no one's going to care. And then when they do see it, even if you only have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers, when they're researching your office and they see this fun, vibrant video, and they see your doctor, or they see the office in a video format and people having fun, they're going to gravitate to your office, even if you only have 10,000 followers. So like I said, you just have to be better than the other people in your town. And I guarantee you will, if you have the busy course and you learn it, and you actually have somebody in your way to take that and go through it. And like I said, it's not something that really changes. There's some things that can change, like where's this button on the app? That could change. But the actual structure, the virality, how it works, how to find your structure, how to do it with the doctor, without the doctor, all these different things intertwined will never change. It's been going on in movies for centuries, and TV shows, and now content. It's the same structures, the same things. Everything is basically made to be entertaining and have watch time. So you want things that people will watch a long period of time. So it's finding those structures that work really well in this new viral algorithm, figuring out who your personality is, what your office wants to pertain, and then picking out which structure you want to be in, learning that structure, testing, finding a couple buckets, and then just going along and doing it and getting better at it slowly and slowly. So
yes, you touched on some of this there, but I think it's really important to kind of hit home why dental practices should care about their social presence and what are the benefits that are received. And I think that there could be an argument. You might have somebody that's like, I don't need new patients, or our practice is healthy, or we're this or we're that, or we're doing okay. When you're talking to people, and I think maybe there's also some generational tie into this as to whether or not the value is understood. But how would you go about just explaining like why it's important and what the benefits are that you're going to get, maybe the expected ones and some that might be unexpected?
yeah, I mean, we're in a new world now. It's in a new phase, and a lot of these dentists and doctors, when they came out, it was barely in the internet age at that point, and then social media was a whole brand new thing that came out with Facebook and those things. And then there are these digital ads, and I got to spend more money for that. But there's a lot of people that got really successful off of digital Facebook ads, 10 years ago, trust me, 20 years ago. And so now it's a new language for the consumer. People are getting older. Those kind of people are passing away and moving on, and the new generation is taking them, their place. And this is the way that they speak. It used to be the mail-in flyers, or a lot of dentists used to be through word of mouth because my family's family has been there, and I go to church here, or the YMCA, or this, the Rotary Club, or whatever it is. And now what we're seeing is really, it's almost like 80-90% of patients are coming through organic now. Like, they don't even care if your parents went there. Now, maybe in some small towns, yeah. But even then, in those small towns, if there was a cool place to be, they're going to go there instead. Because I don't know if people understand this, but the kids dictate what the parents do nowadays. It's not the other way around. And so now I get it. If you're an elderly care clinic and you're a dental clinic, and you can still make good Facebook ads, and you may not have as much of a benefit, but most people have from 60 to 10 years old, or whatever it is, and that area all loves it, from Facebook all the way down to TikTok, right? And so I think it's still a really important thing, and especially for these newer clinics coming up, there really is not that back and forth between even specialties anymore. Like, we're seeing like orthodontists don't even get stuff from dentists anymore, because dentists do their own orthodontics now. And so it's like, if you're not caring about yourself and your own message out there and putting your own message back into the world, I think that's kind of insane. Honestly, it would be like, hey, I'm going to open my doors and not tell anybody in the town about my office. I'm just going to close it down. And then just, the one or two people we get that drive by and see us is plenty for us. No billboards, no, direct mailers to your home, no church meetings, no, billboards on the high school pamphlet or anything. Cause that's how they used to do it, was like that homegrown marketing. And now it's like you don't have to do that because people are doing less of that stuff and more just directly. Like, how amazing is it that instead of just a random flyer with your logo on it, now you can show your office, your personality, your office staff, your doctor, some educational stuff. It's like it sells so much better, so much quicker, and you form a relationship with them before they even come into the office. It's kind of a no-brainer. And then a lot of things that I think people don't realize is all the things in the past cost a lot of money. Organic is free. If you just go do it, like everything I've done for my office is free. I just make the video and people will come in. Now, we do also do paid advertisements along with it because our numbers are so good because the content is good that we can get click-through rates crazy cheap and all these things. And we can just basically infinitely scale all of our offices if we wanted to across the country, if we wanted to. And so I know it works for me. So even if it works 50% as good for you, you're still going to have a ball with it. Because I guarantee you there's so many people listening to this right now that are in the dental ortho field on your side that are doing paid ads right now. And they probably have an agency that is just putting a picture with like $500 off and a crappy little picture of their office maybe. And you're literally talking in hieroglyphics to a video world. Like it's like picture in a video world. Like you're not even speaking the same language. So why are you even doing ads if you don't even know? Yeah, it's like direct mailers are like we sent when I very first started here in Texas 4 years ago. We fell into that trap of the old school marketing. You put it in a magazine, do the direct mailers, 150,000 of them, and put them 4 times. We got 0 patients from that. 0. And that's who I am. Like, people know who I am when they see my face and all these things. I still got 0 because you know what? No kids or no young adults saw those things because they don't look at it. But the second we pivoted to just organic, we grew to like 750,000 in the first year. And that was no direct mailer, no anything like that. And so it shows you just like, it's like you're not willing to just like bend over and pick up the gold nugget. Like, what are you like? Why not? You're working so hard for no reason.
Yeah, you're causing me to think about some things in different ways too. So, like, first off, the ability for a practice just to add extra value in the community within which they reside by providing educational content to help people out is incredible. Like that has to build a bridge between the people that live there and the folks that are at that practice and help people really understand whether or not it drives more patients into the door, which is going to by default, but just the fact that it gives you this opportunity to provide additional value to those that you're serving. And then I think the second piece, you mentioned something which I thought was brilliant, which is buy the course, have somebody in your front office take the course. It gives them an opportunity for additional professional development. Like, there's a lot of turnover in front offices historically. Maybe a piece of it is like, what is my career pathing? Where can I go? What can I do? How can I expand and add more tools to my tool belt that I can use in the future? You're equipping people in your practice to add a skill that is super valuable, and you're giving them the tools in order to do that. And then by extension, they're now going to have a body of work that they can point to in the future should they decide to go different paths. And so I really love that piece of it.
And think like, what age is the people that are your dental assistants, your front desk, your things like that? This is their language. They love this. And when you tell them all of a sudden, hey, your job is to do this thing that you love to do, they get excited about it. Almost every time I've noticed that they start like really getting excited, looking for the next video they're going to make. They start planning it out. The girls are like, oh my gosh, I want to be in it too. And then eventually the doctor even is like, he starts to see the numbers go up. And like, even if it's small, it's like, we got 10,000 views on this video. 10,000 views is a lot of people. Like, you think about it, that's a stadium for some people, and so if you had to pay for 10,000 views, that's pretty expensive, but you get in 10,000 views and maybe you start to get 1,000 followers and then 5,000 followers and then 10,000 followers. And then all of a sudden the doctor's like, wait, we have 10,000 people are following my clinic. Like, this is insane. And then they start to get involved in it and they start to have fun with it. And then all of a sudden that bleeds through into the positivity of the whole entire office. And then the patients are having fun. And we have a lot of our clients that have, done really well and busy, and like they even get their patients involved sometimes and do videos with them. And now the patients are begging to be in videos. And then, like you said, the community thing is really interesting too, because like I said, the community is new. It grows and builds with the youth of the community. So it's like, you did the stuff in the past. You sponsored the youth group or the high school football team or the things like that, because that was what the youth liked, what they did, all that type of stuff. Now we get to do a lot of cool stuff with the community because the community loves us. It's like the schools are like, please come and speak for us. All these kids love you. It's like, do all of these different things. Come to the high school and do like a giveaway at halftime for Windcrest, and have a dance competition or something with the kids. It's like, so you start unlocking these little levers as like you're the cool business in the town. And I'm in a really, really competitive area. Like whenever I came here to Plano, Texas, we did our stuff. It was actually right in the middle of COVID when we opened this office. And so when we were getting our loans and all of these things, they literally told me, do not open here. Like they were like, we did our stuff and they were like, we have a lot of reasons to not give you a loan here because this is such a competitive spot. You're next to 30-year-old orthodontist, like 30-year times orthodontist. People have been going there for 30 years. They're like, you're not going to be able to compete. So then I showed them all the stats about social media and my views and who I was and all that. And then after a back and forth for a while, they were like, okay, we'll give you a chance, but only because of who you are, And so we did it. And then we just started crushing. And we actually, interestingly enough, YouTube got so popular there that we actually shut down my clinic for like 2 or 3 years. So we were just using this as a studio and just seeing patients on the side that found us that were like, we have to be seen by you. And then now we've actually brought in an amazing associate doctor, and we started growing it probably last year around June. And we're already up to like 30 plus starts a month just from organic content, and stuff like that. And so I'm telling you, it's really cool. And the kids come in, they're excited. And even just seeing Dr. John on a few videos, the people will see them in the videos and they'll be like, Dr. John, you were in the video. That's crazy. And so they're starting to ask him for pictures and stuff. So it doesn't have to be just me. It just gets them excited because you're cool. You're speaking their language. You're doing what they know as cool.
It is very cool. You mentioned Mr. Beast earlier, and I was at a conference a couple of years ago. It was called the All In Summit, and Mr. Beast was on stage, and I was listening to his presentation. Yeah, it's my favorite. I wait for every Friday so I can listen to that podcast. But he was up on stage, and they were talking through his business and kind of how he expanded into Feastables and all this other. And one of the things I found interesting was he kept being pressed as to like, what's next. And he is really laser focused on YouTube. And he's like, look, well, like, I just want to be the best at this. And like, he's created this entire production company and mechanism. It's super impressive. But when you think about branching out, like I know you're one of the top 100 YouTubers, like you're using these different mediums and these different social channels. Do you advise that it's good to kind of go wider, or do you want to go deeper on a single one? And kind of what's the best progression to think about in that way?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy or Mr. Beast is he's a niche YouTuber. He loves to be focused in on what we call long form content, which is YouTube. But the algorithmic structures that we're talking about are the same things that he knows at a deep level. He still does everything. And he's massive on all the short form content, right? And so to get into a long form side of content, it's the exact same ideas of what we teach in Busy. It's just harder to do because you have to do a 10 to 15 minute video. There's editing involved. You have to shoot it. You have to do thumbnails, titles, info. There's actually a lot more to his side, but the returns on it are you get a lot more money, but it's way, way, way harder to do. It's like saying getting a six pack versus being, Mr. Olympia. That's like the difference between being a long form YouTuber and doing shorts, which in my eyes, the payoff for an average person is not there on the long form side because most will put all this effort, all this money, all this time, and then not get anything out of it, And so, but the beauty is you take those same algorithmic ideas, and Mr. Beast does this as well. And he does amazing on a short form because of it, because he understands it at such a high level. He's Mr. Olympia. He can go down to a small bodybuilding show and wreck because he knows exactly what he's doing. But here's the thing with short form, doctors don't have a lot of time. They don't want to spend a lot of money, and they want good results. And luckily, that is exactly what short form gives you. You can do something that takes 10 seconds. Like after this thing, I'm going to do a short form, TikTok with our associate doctor. It's going to take us maybe 5 minutes, and be done, because I know exactly what to do, where to find it, how to do it, all that type of stuff. So you can do it quick, dirty, and easy. Even if you wanted to do the higher end stuff that I do, it only takes me like maybe a couple hours a week to do the whole entire week's videos in like an hour or two. And that's at a very high level with editors and posting and understanding and reactions and finding the videos and doing all this type of stuff. So if you're just doing the basic stuff, really, it doesn't take you any time at all. You can make the video. It will do normally really well as long as you gain trust in the algorithm and you show up every day and you post and you keep doing the right things. Remember, if you want a six pack, I keep going back to that because it's actually so similar. You can eat a really good meal with chicken and broccoli and do that for a week, and you're not going to wake up with six pack abs. It takes you maybe 10 weeks, 12 weeks of doing that before you see those really good results, right? So, but the beauty is once you make that, it's easy, simple. You make it, you edit it, you do it, you're posting it. Now, all of a sudden, not only can you post it to TikTok, but it works the same on Instagram, the same on YouTube Shorts, the same on Snapchat. So now one video and one time of your effort, you can go viral across the entire internet with that one video. Whereas like Mr. Beast's long form, it really can only live on YouTube. Now he can clip it up and make some clips that go into TikTok, but that's way more difficult to do. And so I would say for 99% of people, the short form content is the no brainer, because that's where you can still make money. You can still do the ads. You can still, get popular. You can still get your views. You can get your followers way quicker. It's the barrier of entries way lower. And so it just makes 100% sense. But Mr. Beast doesn't just niche into only YouTube long form. He niches into full social media. But because everything right now is completely and totally intertwined with marketing and media, he doesn't even have to do anything with Feastables because he knows how to make good content. So that's what I was saying and that's a great actually example of what I was talking about via marketing. So it's like, if you learn how to make the good organic content, now you can make good ads. And if you can make good ads, you can sell anything and everything you ever want. That's why we're one of the fastest growing oral care companies in the world right now, is because I'm using the same exact tactics I do in organic to sell my toothpaste and water flossers and all these things. And he's doing the exact same thing with Feastables. He actually grew $1 billion company in a year, and same with Prime, which is another big one with Logan Paul and all them. And even like Alani, which is just sold for like $1 billion, I think, was another influencer. So like, all of these companies are really easy to do just because they know how to read the algorithm.
Yeah. Looking back on life, there's always like certain decisions that you reflect on and go like, wow, like this could have gone either way and would have made things completely different from where I sit today. One of the ones for you seems to be, you've used some references to physical fitness and to health, and you talked about doing personal training when you were in college. Did you ever consider pursuing that as a career? And do you kind of look back and reflect on how you made the decision to end up moving into dentistry and going to dental school?
Yeah, like I said, my life was a series of fortunate events, which was really interesting. And I really do believe heavily in manifestation. I really do think if you truly want something and you believe it and you tell yourself there's no other option other than that, your brain and body and life will just figure out a way to make it happen. And so actually I told my parents I wanted to be an orthodontist when I was 13 years old. So I literally, I don't know what it was. I think in school they were kind of like saying like, hey, we should be thinking about what do you want to be when you grow up? Like one of those little, things. And I started to think about it and I was like, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. My dad was a doctor. My whole family's a doctor in medicine, all that type of stuff. But I saw my dad kind of like, he always had the on-calls, was always, we'd be in the middle of a theater, get called, had to go to the hospital to deal with surgery or something like that, and working late and all that type of stuff. And so that didn't ever really resonate with me, that I was like, man, I really want to do that when I grow up. I always wanted to be like a venture capitalist, like business guy, or an orthodontist, because I had braces. I saw my orthodontist. He was super cool. He had all these crazy like Chuck Taylors. He wore these crazy painted glasses. His chairs were like burgers and his couches were hot dogs. He had Simpsons posters up all over the place. And I just saw him and I was like, man, this guy's not really doing much work. He's just like hanging out and schmoozing with the moms. And funny enough, so I went home, and this is the MIT engineer probably slightly autistic self of mine that I Google. I asked back then it was Ask Jeeves, and I said, "What is the most amount of money I can make in a job with the least amount of work?" And what popped up was orthodontist was actually the number one, and it had won the top job. And like they used to do that world job report where they would say like the top jobs of the year, and orthodontist had won like literally like 10 years in a row as the best job ever. And so that was just kind of like happened to be right when I was thinking about that from that same day from there. And so my brain was just like, that sounds dope. I'll be an orthodontist. Now, I didn't know how tough it was to become an orthodontist, and that you had to go to dental school, and then you had to be top of your class in dental school and go to orthodontic residency and all this different stuff. But I remember I told my parents at 13, I was like, I'm going to be an orthodontist, And so the whole fitness side came in because, I actually loved working out. I used to be a bodybuilder, so I used to be way bigger. I'm super tiny now, but I used to actually fill these guys out. Now I'm really tiny, but that's what stress and work does to you. But so when I went to school, my dad, because he went to MIT, he got into OU's medical school via MIT. He was like chemical engineering and business double major, but he always told me, he was like, your major doesn't really matter as long as you get your credits done. You should really do something that you're passionate about that you would use later in life. And so I went into exercise physiology because I was really into working out, and I wanted to understand diet and nutrition and the ability to shape my body, as I needed to. And it was super fun, and I absolutely loved it. And that's what actually got me started in social media, because I wanted to be a fitness influencer. And I actually grew a page to like 50,000 followers. So there is a Bentist bodybuilding fitness page out there somewhere, hidden. I won't say the name of it, but if you can find it, good for you. And so then when I graduated orthodontic residency, I kind of decided I thought it would be a little weird to be working on kids and posting shirtless pictures. So I just kind of shut it down. I was like, you know what? I'm not really making any money off this. It's taking a lot of my time. TikTok wasn't a thing at that time. And so I was just like, Instagram game it wasn't worth it. It was lame. And then the other hard part was that you had to come up with all your content. Like, it was really tough to come up with your own content every day and think about what you would post and do and all that type of stuff. And then, like I said, TikTok changed that completely, because you could just see what's working and then kind of what we call yoink and twist it. But yeah, that's where the bodybuilding thing came out, which ended up helping me learn how to do social media just for the full 360 for people. Then I got into this corporate chain, right out of residency in Arkansas. They had just bought out this guy named Benjamin Burse's practices, who, if people don't, I'm sure people in the dental space know who he was. Kind of infamous. He had a lot of issues and ended up in federal prison and all this type of stuff. Sold all of his offices to this company that I worked for, and they were like kind of sight unseen, so we didn't really know what we were getting into. And so when I got to the office, it was so poorly ran. The phone lines didn't work. These people were in braces for like 5-6 years, extractions in the wrong places. It was terrible. And then I started to try and do what I do best, which is network and trying to get people to refer to us and trying to clean up all the patient experience and all that type of stuff. And then I found out that he had sent letters to every dentist in the state saying, screw you, we don't need you, never send any patients our way, we're going to take all your business. So I had no way to get any patients in at all. So the only thing I could physically do was to do social media, which I had happened to learn via the fitness side. So in my head, I'm going to do Instagram. And then that day, because I'm thinking about how do I do social media for this office, I start noticing all these kids are on their phones, like enamored, like glued to their face, like doing this, and I had seen, kids my whole life through orthodontic residency. And I was like, okay, well, you guys are on a new app I've never seen before. What is this? And they were like, it's this new thing called TikTok. It came out 2 weeks ago. They bought Musical.ly. And then it just went all the way from there. I looked at it and I was like, this is like Vine. I see these people are all copying each other on the same audio. They're just doing a funny skit. I'm just going to copy the skit that's obviously working, and I'm just going to make it dental about getting your braces on and off. We made the video for funsies. I didn't think about it. Next day we come back, we got 100,000 followers and 10 million views on our video. And then the history was, so like I said, a series of fortunate events. But if I never wouldn't have gotten into working out, I never would have gotten into social media. I never would have thought of it as a thing. I never would have been there right at the right time for the start of TikTok. And so it's like, it's crazy how the world works, for sure, and how things can work out if you just put yourself in the right positions.
Yeah, well, and how cool. I mean, even at the age of 13, having a desire for this profession and then pursuing that. And you also mentioned like, well, maybe I want to be a venture capital investment guy, entrepreneur. You've been able to pursue that as well. As talk a little bit about something nice, which First off, I love the name of the company. I'd be very curious how you ultimately came up with that. But share a little bit about the origin story and why you founded it, and tell us about Something Nice.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. Something nice is actually probably my number one passion. It's the thing I really, really, truly love doing. I love doing everything. I tell people I have so many dream jobs. I'm an orthodontist. I am a social media personality, and now I'm an entrepreneur of one of the fastest growing oral care companies in the world. It's crazy. And the stuff we have coming out, which I told you earlier, I can't talk about just yet. Just know that it will change the landscape of dentistry and oral care forever, and that will be coming out later this year, hopefully, as long as all the tests and stuff come back all right. But the world is going to it's so crazy how much biotech and craziness is going to be coming along the lines of health and everything like that. And just the fact that I get to even be a small piece of it on the oral care side is insane. It's a dream of mine. But regardless, so when you are a social media influencer, back in the day, the big thing was merch. If you were big, you got your 2 or 3 years, you got to sell some merch and make some money and get on your way out. I always thought that was a little scammy, selling t-shirts, and like, was someone going to want to buy a t-shirt with the Bentist face on it? I was like, it's just kind of lame and kind of stupid. And so I always told myself early on, I wanted to do something more, and I wanted to start a company, because like I said, I wanted to be a venture capitalist and, an entrepreneur of some sort. And so I really understood really early on. Actually, back then it was more the Kardashians were the only ones doing it. So it was like these celebrities doing things. Nobody in the influencer space had really done anything yet. But I saw the writing on the wall that these old corporations were now going to become either influencer led or celebrity led or something like that. And so I said, why not just sell oral care stuff? And so the first thing that I wanted to do was a toothbrush. We ended up just doing, I don't even know, I may have one here somewhere, but it was like a crappy bamboo toothbrush because, plastic, big thing, the turtles at the time and everything. And I was like, instead of doing that, I'll just sell a bamboo toothbrush. It's really cheap, 2 for $5, and then I'll have, the name. And so what we actually called it Something Nice for is because, I always believe that the more you give, the more you receive. And so with Something Nice, we actually called it that because for every brush you bought, we would give one away. And we actually moved to like our electric toothbrush that we have today. We designed it and we made it. It was like a basic battery operated one. So that was the next generation. And then that ended up moving on to just, instead of doing the buy one, get one Tom's model for the toothbrush, now we're actually building the Something Nice Foundation, which will go through all my Windcrest offices to give people free care in need. So like we'll be giving away a ton of cases. It's like a percentage of the revenue will go to this foundation, which will then go through the Windcrest to just pay for people's braces to, basically give them free treatment. And we actually have it in place right now with different dental offices. So that if they refer so many, then they get to choose somebody out of their clinic to be part of that foundation, and then they get free treatment for it, which is really cool. And so that's why it's called Something Nice. And also, we became in the world, I'm speaking of China and US tariffs and stuff going on right now, we kind of went through this past decade of kind of Chinese knockoffs and scam products and, all these different things. And so unfortunately we saw, and especially in social media, it just get flooded with just crappy, bad, scammy products that were either low quality, didn't work, like all these things. And so I made tons of videos over the years about like, don't use this, don't use charcoal toothpaste, like this whitening agent doesn't work, like this is for your hair and skin, it's not even for your teeth, like all these things. And I just felt myself constantly doing this over and over again, but people have no idea. And so I just said to myself, like, why, if I'm trying to make the best orthodontics office in the world and I'm trying to be the best dental educator in the world, why can I not make the best oral care company in the world that is no BS, that's science backed, that is literally trying to innovate and make the best products that I could ever figure out and how to do? Because we haven't really innovated in oral care in like 150 years. Like, when was the last major innovation in oral care? I can't even think of one. I don't know if you can think of one, but I mean, it's like toothbrush, maybe the whitening strip, but that was like, tell me more about Curadon. I'm always open to.
So Curadon is to remineralize teeth, and so it's to essentially prevent cavities from occurring or decay from occurring or getting worse. So instead of just like, let's just watch this tooth, there's actually the opportunity to do something about it prior to having to take any invasive action or drilling or anything like that. So it's relatively new, come out the last couple of years from a company, Vivardis.
Yeah, I'll have to. I think I want to say somebody did mention that to me, and I looked it up a little bit about the mechanism of action. But that's not like something Crest would put out, right? That's like something a dentist would have in their office, right? Yeah. So I guess I'm talking more like over the counter Crest, Colgate, consumer. Yeah, and it's like we have the same toothbrushes, the same whitening strips, the same fluoride toothpaste, and so we just went down the line. And so like the first innovation we had was our floss picks, where I added in like basically I added a tongue scraper onto the floss pick. We added in like the braces rubber band holder and all these things and made this utility pick for braces. Just trying to make the best product ever there. And then the next one was our water flosser, which we were the first water flosser to come out with the dual motor version that has like a soft motor with the tonsil stone nozzle to actually get tonsil stones out, because I was trying to create something that actually got the tonsil stones out for me, because I used to try water flossers and they were so high powered they would just like crush your tonsils. And so I just made something like that, a new way of thinking about water flossers, and actually the first water flosser that didn't have like a silicone straw and all these other things. So we made that. That was like our first big invention. And then obviously we're bringing nanohydroxyapatite into the toothpaste world, into the more in the mainstream now, which is something that's pretty cool. You'll see more about the biotech inventions later this year. Yeah, it's just like basically I just want to take everything and try and make it what I call N+1, which is taking what it is and giving something one better, one innovative feature that's never been done before. And then on top of that, we're just trying to make sure that it's nothing crazy, nothing scammy, nothing non-science backed, that people can actually trust and use. And so that's where something nice is, and that's where we're playing in the sphere that we're playing in. And so that's kind of what it grew into from there. And so basically our goal is to take on Oral-B and Crest. And just like Prime has now outselling Gatorade, Feastables is now outselling Hershey's, we want to be the ones in charge of the future, because I would rather a dentist who actually cares about the people, who wants to educate the people and do things the right way, be in charge of the oral care products, rather than a corporation who probably doesn't have one dentist at the board. That's all a family's family from 150 years of selling toothpaste to people. I would rather us be in the driver's seat than them. But that's why something nice is so passionate to me, and I love innovating, I love designing, I love marketing, and that's where that all came from. Yeah, but definitely love, like you said, a Curadon, or we're going to be seeing so many crazy inventions that are going to be changing the landscape of oral care. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like you were saying, I would not be surprised, based on what I've seen, what I'm doing, and even what you were saying about Curadont, that we could live in a world in less than 10 years where oral disease isn't even a thing. Like, you just physically can't get cavities, or periodontal disease. So
That's awesome. I love the mental framing of N+1 as well. That's a great way of thinking about things. I want to be conscious of your time. I've got one last question for you, then we can wrap up, and maybe a controversial one. But you may have done videos on this: fluoride in water or not fluoride in water?
yeah, so that's something that I've been asked quite a bit. And I even got asked to go on CNN and stuff to talk about it. I declined because I think it's not my lane to go there.
It's like the third rail right now. It's just don't touch that at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I try and stay in the middle. Now, I am a science guy. I like to look at the science of things. We know the science of fluoride. There is a lot of studies that show that fluoride is safe in the amounts in toothpaste. Now, the problem is, I think more of the regulation of the water industry and the public, we've kind of proven out that they don't really have traction on how many levels they have, of what levels they have. There's no congruency across the country. Some areas can have high parts per meter, some can have low. We see fluorosis in areas in well water here in Texas, specifically. Now, we know it has good effects on teeth, but I'm not a full, scientist that knows the full, what does it do with the brain? What does it do with the calcification of the pineal gland? What does it do inside the body the rest of the ways? And so, as much as I don't tell people to shy away from fluoride in toothpaste, I do believe that we probably have enough with just the toothpaste that would be fine without it being in the water. And that being said, even with newer things that are going to be coming out in the future, and even things like nanohydroxyapatite, which Japan has been using for decades, you can do a lot of the remineralization that you can do with fluoride with non-fluoride products. So I understand it as a prevention technique. I understand why it got into the water. I think the regulations need to be a little bit different. And until they could say, that we can get this to be the exact parts per water and all of these things, and not have it be so wildly vast across the entire country with no regulation on that and no long-term studies about, the fluoride effects in other areas outside of the teeth, I personally have switched over to an nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste because I drink water, and I'm sure I'm probably getting fluoride in my water. So, and I don't have an even problem with some people. Like Dr. Jens makes a super paste that's a double nanohydroxyapatite and fluoride together. And when people ask me if they should stop using their fluoride toothpaste, I say, hey, I think that's fine. If you want to use fluoride, that's perfectly fine, because nanohydroxyapatite is very expensive for a toothpaste. A lot of people don't want to spend $20 on a tube of toothpaste. So I still think fluoride has its place. I'm not going to demonize it. But I do think that there's definitely, I don't have an issue with it being removed from water at this point. It's kind of like, what was it like with iodized salt? We get like so much extra of like certain things that we, when they first implemented it 70 years ago, that's why they iodized salt to try and help us with that. And now it's like we have so much fluoride everywhere that it's like we could be fine cutting it out. And actually, the interesting thing is I think most people use filtered water now anyways. I don't know. I don't even know if filtered water filters out fluoride. I'm not a water scientist on that. But yeah, I think from what I've seen, we probably will not have to use fluoride in a meaningful capacity in another year or two, is my guess.
Yep. No, that's great. Makes a lot of sense. All right. Thank you so much for the time. Where can everybody find yourself? Busy, something nice? Kind of give us the rundown.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm the Bentist on pretty much all socials. I think I'm the Bentist official on Instagram. I believe it's getbusy.social, which is GETBIZZY.social. So getbusy.social. And that is where you can find Busy if you are interested in that course. I do think it would be a very valuable course for you. If you are somebody who is maybe trying to get into social media or has no idea where to start and just wants to train somebody in your office. And then somethingnicecompany.com is where you can find any of our oral care products. I believe we actually our toothpaste is sold out like 5 times and is finally back in stock. It got back in stock this week. So I think it should be back on the website in probably another couple days. And then our whitening strips, which we didn't even talk about, which are really cool, which are the first ever whitening strips that are actually peelable and moldable to only the front of your teeth. And they actually got rid of we actually decreased sensitivity by 60%, and we got to double the strength of the hydrogen peroxide on the strips. So those are actually really cool too, that I have a patent on those as well, which was just cool. So
I love it. Dr. Winters, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. The Dental Economist Show is brought to you by Planet DDS. To find out more about how cloud-based dental software by Planet DDS helps unleash dentists and their staff to focus on patient care, visit www.planetdds.com. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes by following wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.